it wasn't until recently that Wizards brought in modern plumbing. And it used to be that they would just relieve themselves wherever they stood and then vanish the Betterscotch Shenanigans. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 193 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the game dev comedy podcast of Betterscotch Shenanigans. I'm Seth and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Adam and I'm real itchy right now.
I'm Sam and I'm cold.
And this is a show where we talk about life, business, and working in the games industry. Today is the froth of March. 2019.
That feels exactly like what it is like outside.
We're right in the thick of the froth of March.
It is, I think, 4 degrees outside.
It's 4.
I thought you said it wasn't any degrees.
Well, feels like.
Okay, plus or minus.
Feels like it's not.
It's
any.
no degrees plus or minus 4 degrees. Basically.
Yeah. Before we get started, we have a warning: profanity. There's going to be it. It will be in here, so watch out.
And is his cousin it?
Yeah.
This is it, the balloon carrying demon thing.
Oh, that it.
The clown.
There are a lot of its.
They might be the same person. It's just that one, you get a haircut and it turns out there's a demon clown under there. We don't know. We'd also like to thank our recurring supporters over at moneygrab.bscotch.net. If you'd like to help support the podcast, get over there and then we'll grab your money. Mm-hmm. We're also going to be doing a question blitz this week. Mm-hmm. But first, we have some quick announcements and news items from the studio. First, we did a Levelhead pre-alpha this past weekend. It was a super secret thing. We grabbed a few people who we knew would be totally fine if we deleted everything on their computer, including.
And we almost had to.
We almost had to.
So that happened.
So we were running telemetry and kind of keeping track of like what was happening.
What's the stats? Give me the numbers.
So between those 23 people, they put in over 300 hours into Levelhead this past weekend. They died about 15,000 times. Mm-hmm. So that's
pretty good.
A pretty substantial amount of
times.
GR18 deaths. Mm-hmm. Built 27 levels and the game crashed one time.
Which is, dare I say, impressive.
So this is compared to the Crashlands alpha,
which was Crashlands.
Not only did the game just crash all the time, but it also just was bad. Like the game was just bad. So we had some really good playtime in. People were having a great time with it, and we have a legit alpha, closed alpha coming up this next weekend. Mm-hmm. So this was like our pre-alpha, like just make sure that nothing is truly wrong with the game before we open it up to a bigger crowd.
So it was only like 24 people, basically, at the end of the day.
Yeah. So this weekend it's going to be a couple hundred people.
Mm-hmm. And if you're on the list, you already know you're on the list. So
yeah.
If
you're not on the list, never fear. You'll have the game in your hands at some point. But if you want to kind of spy on the action, just come to the Bscotch Discord at discord.gg/Bscotch. Because this closed alpha this upcoming weekend, people are going to be able to talk about it. Mm-hmm. So it's not a secret thing. It's just closed for access. So that means if you're interested in the game and you want to just kind of like be around the excitement of people experiencing it for the first time, then come on into the Discord and go to the Levelhead channel. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a riot. It was very active this past weekend with what was going on secretly, of course, behind the scenes. So that happened. I'm very excited. I think it's going to be great. We also have an announcement coming on Thursday about Levelhead. So pay attention. To what? I don't know.
Just keep your eyeballs, your earballs, your whatever else you can sense the wind with.
Whatever.
Just take all your balls, peel them,
orient them
towards towards senses.
Peel your oranges, folks.
Yep.
It's about to get citric.
Yeah.
In here. Okay.
Put that on a t-shirt.
I'm going to get juiced.
So go to the Bscotch Discord, I guess. Like I don't really know where to look, but just like keep an eye out.
Just look around, man. Look around.
So that's coming up this Thursday. We also have a Gdc Meetup. We're going to be at GDC. GDC is March 17. So 18 is the first day of GDC. That's a Monday.
Mm-hmm. It's that whole week.
And then it goes for that week.
That Monday is the day.
We're there through Thursday, I think, right? Or Friday?
We're there through Thursday.
Yeah.
So what we decided to do, kind of like what we did when we went to PAX, is where you just went and sort of posted up and hung out. And then a couple people showed up and we chatted about life and stuff. So if you want to just come and say hey to our faces, well, we'll be setting up a little meetup. So if you're in the area, clear that that afternoon. It's basically going to be Monday from 4:30 to maybe like 6:30 or something like that.
Yep. Monday,
And we'll
March
have more,
18.
more details about that in the future podcast stuff.
And then last bit of news before we get to Question Blitz 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Shenanigans was our little mini convention that we did in October of last year. We're doing it again,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to try to do it better this time and slightly larger. And that's going to be happening September 28th. We now have the official date, and we're going to have Eventbrite tickets coming up on the 6th of March, so the day that this podcast comes out. And you can go to meet.bscotch.net to get tickets for that. We don't currently even know what's going to be at this thing.
Yeah, we'll figure it out in the weeks before.
Yeah. Last year was great. We did a live podcast episode. We let people play some like early demos of Levelhead, and we just hung out, had some good food, and then like went out to the bar afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think
We're still going to do a live podcast, I think.
we're gonna do a live podcast. We're gonna
After that, we don't know. Because the rest all depends on the state of Levelhead and who knows what's going to be going on at that time. So
Yeah.
but
it'll
it's mostly a chance
probably be-
just to see for us to see you, for you to see us, and then for you to see your fellow Shenanites, just all in real human life.
Yeah.
Meet some folks. Have a good
So I
time.
think it'd be about 4 hours.
Yep.
About 4 hours long of an event on a Saturday afternoon. So if you got the time, come on down. It'll be great. All right, let's get on to questions. These questions come from it's only 6.5 minutes in, and we're getting the questions.
Whoa.
It's gonna be great.
So we did it for real.
Mhm.
When we talked about it last week, I thought
no
that's
No
not
way.
going to happen.
No way. We should talk for about 20 more minutes about
How that was not going to
how we
happen.
First, all right, so these questions come from podcast.bscotch.net. People can now vote on each other's questions there, and it's just a flurry
And
of
also,
activity.
So nice.
if you're getting confused by all these URLs we're throwing out here, just go to bscotch.net. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
All the links are there. Just go to one place.
Yeah, or just kind of like get into a monk-like Zen state, and just the links will come to you.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't need to go anywhere
Because we will email
because
them
we're
to
all
you.
one with the universe.
Or
The
that.
links are inside you the whole time. First question comes from Beekie Boppaboop.
Yes, Beekie.
Beekie Boppaboop.
Beakie's been asking a lot of good questions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Beekie Boppaboop says,
Or sorry,
would
Mr. or Mrs. Baba Boop. I want to make sure.
it's Beekie.
Is there Beaky?
Yeah.
That might be overly familiar. Yeah.
That's true. Would you ever have a guest on from another game studio, or maybe Patbard? So
Maybe.
definite no on Patbard, because he would be enraged at how we're using our mics, probably.
Yeah.
And he would not
He'd be
able
giving
to,
us the stink eye the whole time.
I'm just slapping mine just the whole time.
yeah,
I
he
do
would
it for
not be
fun.
able to
Yeah.
focus. So he's out.
It would be fun because like a lot of the people in the pre-alpha were really happy with all the music and the sound effects.
Oh yeah, the music's great.
So actually, it would be fun to have him on at some point, especially because he's been just.
He'd have to bring his own microphone though, because we only have 3.
That's true. We only have 3 mics, so that's
We got that random shotgun mic hanging out in the corner. We could give him the worst mic just to kind of like
just to poke him a little bit.
just to twist that knife.
Yeah, we've talked about in the past about having other devs on to sort of interview or chat. The problem is that it's really a random role whether or not they are able to sort of just speak in a good, humorous way for an extended period of time.
And even if they can, when you're talking to them normally, that doesn't mean once you put a microphone in their face,
Yeah.
that's true. I
And
know the
then
first
Some people
time,
get nervous.
yeah, well, even the first 5 episodes or so of us doing this, I was very weirded out by talking into a microphone.
Yep.
And so if you're bringing in a guest who maybe doesn't do podcasts at all or even interviews, that's their first time now, so that's
And the other aspect about it is actually just the scheduling. So in the past, when we were handling
And the
the
tech.
editing, all this other stuff, like actually just scheduling and then getting it so you can talk to someone while you recording on your end, they're recording on their end, getting that file and mashing it together and having it sound good.
I know it's gonna be high quality on there because of course if they record it and their quality is bad, what are we supposed to do now? We just nuked a whole podcast
Mhm.
because
Well,
we can't.
Yeah, I think though more importantly, it's just not what this show is.
Yeah.
And I mean, like we've been guests on other shows where they just do interviews and like that's their whole thing, and they're good at it, and that's what people come to listen to. But on the other hand, like I listen to my brother and me, and every now and then, like very rarely, they bring somebody else on. And I hate those.
It's always a little weird, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not here for this person. I'm here for you guys. You know, get this weirdo out of here. Even if it's a person I like.
But I think more importantly, it's all weird because those three guys they're not interviewers.
Yeah.
No.
So the interview is always
they're jokers. Like they just want to crack jokes about everything and turn everything into sort of like a weird sort of improv session.
Yeah.
And of course they're trying not to do that because they still want the interviewee to be comfortable and not feel like they have to kind of like
it's hard to
get
fit
into
in
the mix.
Yeah.
because you also want to. If you bring in somebody to interview them, then it's supposed to be all about them now, right? And
Instead
so
of
that
about
means
jokes or
yeah,
something.
and now it can't be about jokes because now you have to make sure you're not making the other person feel out of place. And so
Plus, it's hard to fit into a group that's been talking for 200 hours together.
That's just the recorded part.
Yeah, that's just the recorded part.
It's actually slightly more than 200 hours for us.
like 205 at least.
Yeah. So we did think about this actually when we were doing some initial changes to the podcast and changing construction and stuff like that a long time ago. But it was actually originally it was the scheduling problem. We were like, we don't want to have to deal with that, the pain and the technology problem. And then only later on do we realize that we just don't actually want that to be what this is. So
yeah. It's this show is about what we're talking about.
Yep.
That's what it is. Well, I think part of
It's
it
primarily about shooting the shit,
Yeah.
which is hard to do also while interviewing another person.
Yeah. And it's a nice way for us to kind of decompress and like make sure that we step away from our work and process things and also get in touch with our community about things, like taking these questions about people wanting to know, what's coming down the pipe and what we've been up to. And and I think delivering what is expected is important.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's just how it is. Next question comes from MySecretWeapon. We haven't heard from Sure in a while. Is he still alive? Or are y'all working him to an early grave? Can you call him in to say, hey, just so we know he's okay? Much love, guys. You're an awesome
Did
crew.
we get him?
No, he's headphoned up. He's busy.
He's working.
Or not alive. One of the two.
Oh, yes, busy.
He has headphones on. We haven't checked his pulse, but no, he's doing great. He's been taking over he developed our game pipe, which is our system that sends the games through the tubes of the internet to a build machine and then deploys our patches everywhere. So he and Adam have been collaborating a lot on that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of the reason why we're able to do now this alpha or the pre-alpha and the alpha really comfortably is actually because of this game pipe thing that's been in the works now. So it's part of that overall switch to the DevOps stuff that we did, whereas how can we make it so we don't have to deploy once every week or two and can actually deploy, every day if we want, or every couple hours if we want. So he's been crushing it on that. And a big part of it came from when we did Global Hack. He and Adam worked together a little bit doing some tool stuff. And that just
it woke up a beast.
It turned up. It turns out that is Sure's thing. And so he's just been on fire doing all this tools dev stuff.
It's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because, he came into this studio kind of wanting to be a game developer, like to make
Designer,
the games. And as it seemed like as he worked more and more on it, he always just kind of ended up being just really interested in like solving these weird technical issues, and actually a lot less interested in the games specifically. And so, it's kind of cool to see somebody like find their programming spirit animal.
Right.
Yeah, so he's been doing great, and will continue to do so. But he's not dead.
You're definitely not dead.
So there's that.
Basically, now every time you play any of our games, you're hearing the living ghost of Sure. Because he's the one that made it appear in your hands.
That's true.
Well, more specifically, he made a demon that made it.
That's true, which means he could die at any moment. They would still get.
And his demons will live on.
Yeah.
To carry his memory forward.
Yeah.
But he's super alive. He's doing great.
Totally alive.
100%.
Nothing to worry about. Next question comes from OXDODECADO.
Sounds like a hex code.
It's a hex code for, again,
Something.
hopefully something fine. Who, what, when, where, why, and how is Butterscotch Shenanigans nowadays? So this is a 5-parter.
Okay.
Who, what, when, where, wait, 6-part. All right.
Start at the top.
Who, that's us. All right. Where, what is Butterscotch
What is
Shenanigans?
it?
It's an entertainment company.
We
I
used to
guess.
be a mobile game studio.
Now we're
a real game studio.
Now we're an all game
According
studio.
to,
Now we're a mega cross-platform game studio.
When?
Now.
Right, just living.
Okay.
currently.
Where?
St.
We're here in
Louis.
St. Louis. We are in a second floor office now instead of a basement.
Oh yeah,
I
I didn't even realize how much higher off the ground we've gotten.
we're like, how much higher are we? 20 feet? We're a lot
It also
higher.
depends on what
We've really moved up, you guys.
what's your altitude at your house though? I don't know.
It's,
because like we might also
You're saying absolute?
yeah. Like,
I feel like I spend a lot of time going downhill on my way over
it kind
here.
of feels yeah.
So-
So it might actually be lower somehow.
We might have gone down.
It's hard to say.
might-
But we feel like we're up.
That's why they call it. That's why they call it downtown, because you
Oh yeah,
when
yeah.
you're
'Cause you go down into it
when you're coming in there,
Yeah.
you got to go down. Yeah, it's been good though.
I love living in an
Most
office.
importantly,
It's good.
there's snacks here, and they just keep appearing.
yeah,
we
we never
just
do
keep
anything.
refilling
It's
the
my
snacks.
favorite.
Yeah.
All right, why now? This
Ooh, this one's
this is what I've been actually kind of struggling with.
Why are we doing this?
Why do we do this? And I've kind of realized who gives a shit. Because you got to do what you enjoy,
Uh-huh.
and it doesn't really matter if you know why you enjoy it. You know,
I mean, I think
Sure.
it can give you some. I think it does matter. I think it can give you some internal peace. Unless you've just given up on it.
But
in which
no, but the
case
idea
that's
is
also
I
very
did.
peaceful.
but if you don't need to know why because you're already at peace.
But I think
I think
for
it's
some
fine.
people, knowing the why is how you get to the peace part.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But the question is, are you one of those people?
I think I know why. Because it's fun, for one.
Uh-huh.
Very fun for us.
but if you're really taking a step back, why is it fun?
Yeah, keep
You know?
going down that fucking rabbit hole.
Because it's very rewarding
But why is it
to
rewarding?
build things every day in a way that provokes a lot of internal growth and mastery, which is what we do, right? 'Cause you come up against a problem, you're like, I don't know how the fuck to do this. Got to figure it out. I'm going to go
I'm
do it.
showering. Well, I don't know where the fuck my towel is. but
Exactly. I got to figure out how
I'm
to
gonna
get this
solve
coat.
this problem.
I'm going to turn this coat into a towel.
Very
That's
rewarding.
about happening. And then you got to, on top of that, then you get to, of course, deal with you rascals every day and our other Butterscotch rascals like Sure and Zampy. And it's just fun. And then on top of that, we get to publish things that just make people happy, which most jobs are not really about making other people happy in a very, like a super direct.
It's often about making your boss happy or
Yeah.
less not happy.
Yeah. So I really,
Less not happy.
I really enjoy just the whole kit and caboodle, as they say.
If you can go through your day and be like, I made somebody less not happy today.
Yeah.
I feel like I really did it.
Mm-hmm.
But
did
did you also make yourself less not happy today?
Yes.
Because in the end, that's what really matters.
It's about making yourself less not happy.
Yep.
So why that seems fine.
Yeah,
good.
sure.
That seems
I'll
fine.
take it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about because you could do anything, right? Like if you just wanted to do something and you just put every single ounce of everything you have into getting that to that point, you can generally do that.
Mhm.
Like if you wanted to go to space, you could probably get there. Well, I guess not
Well, I don't know,
probably.
yeah. The thing is, like,
But like you can
probably
at
couldn't,
least
really.
tangentially become associated with going to space.
Uh-huh.
Like you could end up working as an engineer in a space program, or you could, whatever. Like you could start
Or
to
you could be a pilot and just be up real high.
you could get up there.
Get in a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
You could get
Hot
like
air
10%
balloon,
of the way to space, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh,
Space isn't
Or
that
just
far
watch
up, really.
all the documentaries, about space.
and
Yeah,
then you're
play some
basically
Kerbal Space Program.
Mhm.
yeah. So like
Maybe that's your thing.
you can always be working toward that thing. And it's like, why this thing? Why? And I don't know.
Just pick a thing. It's
Yeah,
fine.
just started doing it, and it's awesome. So just keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the why is always, if you try to do it in retrospect, you're just wrong. The why is always because I found peace and joy in what I'm doing. Like that's the why.
Or is it because it paid the bills?
Yeah, that's a
That's-
good
well,
one.
yeah, that's a lot of the
you
time.
may have not found the peace and joy in what you're doing. So there could be the why is just because it pays the bills, or because you're stuck in a rut and can't find a way out, or because you're too afraid of change.
That's a good one.
Or because you feel like you have to do what your parents made you feel like you have to do.
That happens.
Yep.
But yeah,
so there's a lot of whys.
there's a lot of
But
why.
my why is because I found peace and joy in what I'm doing.
Yeah, we got a good why. I think.
that's good.
We've managed to land a good spot.
And then last question is how.
Well, that's the interesting one.
Well, it's saying how is Butterscotch Shenanigans? Does this mean like are we doing fine?
Yeah, we're doing fine.
Or is it more of a deeper how? Like
It's a lot easier to answer.
how
if we
does
do
this
it the first
happen?
Yeah, we're doing fine. Just
We're
answer
doing
that
fine.
one quick.
And
How does this happen?
Otherwise, hard work and serendipity.
Yeah, I gave a talk at GDC last year about how, called Crashlands Design by Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Is that publicly visible?
It's only in the GDC Vault because it was not well received.
It was well received. There was like 3 people who were just pissed.
It got like a middle of the road review because it's basically I submitted a bunch of talks that I thought were way more interesting because my answer was like, how did we design Crashlands? And the answer is like, we just did it. Like we iterated, right? And that's how we do everything is we don't have very direct long-term plans. We know what's coming next.
I mean, I'm going to say, I think your answer was way more compelling in the presentation than we just did it because you talked about the iterative development stuff.
Yeah. Well, I talked about how that iteration happens, but the response from some people was like, well, this doesn't seem reasonable.
Yeah.
So that's how that is how.
That is how we do it.
But what are you going to do? All right. Next question comes from Zivix. What is your favorite mechanic in Levelhead? Are there any particular features in the game that have you feeling extra jazzed?
It's the throwing. 100%.
That grappler.
The grappler and the throw is just, that's what it is.
Makes the game.
And
we
it's
didn't
so
even
funny.
have it until 7 months into development.
Yeah. Well, and the funniest part too is like a lot of the levels don't rely on it in the sense that like you grab the package and then you're kind of off and you're not really grabbing anything for the rest of the level. But
even when you did, there are still often places where you just like throw the package to get some coins or something.
yeah, you just throw a package around you. It picks up coins. You can thump enemies with it, which is just so fun.
Oh, I did just play the campaign level where it's called like Keep Up
Mm-hmm.
or something.
Keep up, okay.
Keep up, okay. And you have to ride a track and you have to keep up with it. So you have to keep on jumping off the track and doing all these things. But one of the things they have to do is throw the package up to get coins periodically, like while you're in the middle of also like getting ready for combat and stuff. And so just having to throw things just periodically, even for no reason, just adds this sort of
it's just
fun.
Well,
thing
it comes down to that. Like it's fun to just play catch.
I think it's
I find myself throwing it for no reason at all.
Oh yeah. I'm
It's
always just like if I'm just walking with
you
the
just
package,
punt
I
it.
just start punting it.
Right.
Or I'll just shoot my grappler out. I don't even have anything to throw. I'm just like whip, shooting it out there.
Yep.
So I think that to me is weirdly enough, it's just like the thing
Yeah.
at the heart of the game.
And I think otherwise the what's his name? The face blaster power up, whatever that one's called.
Yeah.
Which isn't available yet.
Which
on
isn't
the
available
alpha,
yet, but it shoots itself backwards by shooting a projectile out of its face, and then it can bounce off of that very projectile. That's just such a weird fucking thing that by default is actually terrible.
It's
because
easily my favorite thing in the game.
Yeah, because normally you don't want to shoot yourself backwards. That's almost never what you want to do, and yet that's its whole thing.
But once you can,
now you got to figure out how to do it. Now you're like, okay, I have to jump and spin around and shoot my face off, and then like bounce my face off of the thing, and then hit that. And, so it starts to get really fun and weird.
The face blaster, I feel like we're gonna start to see the coolest trick shots.
Oh yeah,
I really want to get this power up done in the hands of people.
Yeah.
Because I do actually have on the Levelhead subreddit some videos of fighting things with the face blaster and stuff.
Is it not in any campaign levels?
No. The campaigns are constricted just so we didn't have to deal with all the bugs that were associated with that suite of content before alpha. So there's not like the flip whips, the canoodles, a bunch of the like 2 of the enemies, and then power-ups aren't even there.
I think we're gonna then like once this alpha's done, we're gonna start fleshing the rest of the campaign out, and then we'll hopefully test everything that we have in beta, and then go from there. So, but yeah, that's a good one. I think it's interesting because for the longest time we were working on the game, this comes back to like that iterative design. It's like for the longest time we're working on the game, and we felt pretty good about the editor, and we felt good about the feel of the playing like of the platforming, but we also were not confident in the game's ability to differentiate itself from anything else because it's like, okay, you got a power up that lets you wall jump, cool.
Neat.
You got a power up that like lets you fly a little bit, okay. But still, you just run around and you push some blocks and you jump on enemies, but the game doesn't feel like it knows why it exists, And then as soon as we added that grappler, then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, this is the thing.
Well, because it also broke out. Now the level's not about just getting to the end, like a classic platformer, but it's about the first half is find the package, and then the second half is get to the end. And so it's actually got this 2-phase play in every single level, which even on a subtle level, like you're always just sort of, if you don't have the package yet, you're always just kind of
You're Lancy.
Well, it gives
keeping
you
an eye out.
It gives
for
you a sense of purpose that I honestly have never really felt in most other
Yeah.
platforming kinds of games where like I'm getting this package to the goal. Like that's it's not just about you getting through. You know, you're bringing something there. And then this happened on accident because we had these push blocks that you literally like they were heavy and you would push them. And actually, if you watch Sam's Bob Ross video, he still referred to on accident referred to the throw blocks as push blocks because they used to be push blocks. And so when we first implemented the grappler, then just to test out some of the mechanics, I made this level called Writer's Block, which was like a level that had a lot of spikes on it, and you started with a throw block, and you had to use the throw block to navigate through the level. And then so like I sent this over to Sam and we started playing. And we're like, this is actually like,
It's interesting. That was the thing. It was so interesting.
Well, and I was like, if I felt bad leaving that block behind, like, cause I beat the level, and I used this block was with me the whole way.
It's a companion
And
cube.
it became like a companion cube. And then when I beat the level, I had to just ditch it. And I was like, I kind of wanted that to be the thing. Like I wanted to bring the block with me.
Meanwhile, we had the package, which was actually previously just floating in the goal. So your goal was actually just to get to
the
that.
package.
And so we sort of were like, oh, what if we take the package
it out.
out and put it over there?
Make it its own thing.
Do you think Valve would give us a free license to put the companion cube in there as a skin?
I think once we get going, you know, if it's successful, we can.
I was thinking we'd go the other way.
That's not going to happen.
Valve can license the package. I don't want to put a companion cube in there. I mean, this is the package. It's the package.
Just as like a skin, you know, like that you can unlock.
No, this package is sacred, Adam. Don't mess with the package. So it's definitely the grappler, definitely the thrower. And then we also have some really badass power-ups. I'm excited to see what people do with all this stuff. Next question comes from Fly Hoppy Axe Romper,
Also a good one.
who says, if you were a character in the Harry Potter universe and could pick your own Patronus charm animal, what would it be?
The problem is I don't know really what any of these words mean.
So the Patronus charm, from what my very high level understanding, because I took a quiz once.
Was it a BuzzFeed
It
quiz?
wasn't a BuzzFeed one. It was the Pottermore quiz for what your Patronus is.
Okay.
And in the explainer, the Patronus is it's basically your spirit animal that comes out, and it is made of pure
Happiness.
light or goodness or something.
And then it
kills Dementors or
anything,
chases them away.
Anything that's evil is like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
So wait, then why?
As far as we could tell, it
that
does
like-
nothing else.
Is that like Harry Potter's owl then, or is that?
No,
That's a different thing?
So this is it's like summoning your spirit animal to chase off ghosts. That's I guess the best way to put
then
it.
why,
Specifically, a certain kind of ghost.
So then why was there even the rest of all the books if he could just summon a ghost that would make you
Because
run
it
away?
doesn't like kill evil things; it just chases them off.
It chases them, and they're like, "Oh, dang it!"
Unless they're so evil that it's a problem, in which case nothing happens.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
So and then the Patronus is supposed to be a symbol. It's your spirit animal, so it's supposed to be like a symbol of who you are.
Gotcha.
As a person.
Yeah, it's weird because in the books, there's a lot about this Patronus thing, and then it ends up.
Doesn't it just chase off stuff?
It's only useful in one specific exact scenario, and is never really used again, as far as I recall.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have a lot of beefs about
I
Harry
got so many
Potter.
beefs about it, but
So Patronus is basically a one-time use magic animal that can chase
Magic
away
ghost
something
animal.
magic ghost animal that can chase away something that you don't like.
yes.
Specifically, Dementors,
Specifically Dementors.
which suck your soul out of your face.
I've never seen.
That's not great.
None of the Patronuses I've seen are like hyper violent animals. I would get either a shark or a bear. Those are my two choices. 100%.
And not a bear holding a shark.
Yeah. A bear with sharks for arms,
So
it can run fast.
So not a shark with bear arms.
I think
but a shark
I would
with bear with
prefer,
shark arms.
a bear holding a shark, making pew pew noises and using it like a machine gun.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
If this is a spirit animal, why does it have to be real?
Yeah, I could be whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that'll chase down some demons, I tell you what.
Yeah, and but also like it's all for show, right? Because it's just going pew pew pew, you know.
I
And the
think
shark's just like hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
so it can't do anything. And like nothing can happen, but it could presumably scare away.
Be great
something.
scared.
and also, since it's a spirit animal, then it's a ghost, which means physics don't have to apply to it either.
So it could just swim. It could be a shark.
Right. So you could have like my spirit animal is like a blue whale, but with man legs. So like, it's just got two normal sized human
man
legs.
Mm-hmm. So you can't even see them relatively.
And it just runs along.
But if we take this to full metaphor, like all the way through, then our Dementors are shitty players because they suck our souls out of our face.
Okay.
Right?
What do you mean?
The shitty players who we have to moderate and who are
like people who are being shitty.
Yeah.
Not people who are bad.
Like, what do you? I don't understand.
Our customers,
players who are
mean to us.
shits, and to each other. Yeah. So those are our Dementors, right? And so we need tools we need something that scares them away, right? But that doesn't really do anything. So it's basically like moderation.
It's like a mute.
Robots
It's
that
a muting.
it's a mute button.
Yeah.
It's really my
juice
Patronus.
box.
Juice box.
Well,
he doesn't mute things though. He just does his own.
Yet.
So Patronus is just your way of muting Dementors.
It's a mute button on the internet.
Mine's a blue whale with human legs.
That's
my
with shark
Patronus.
arms. Yep.
And also the whole time it just screams like that sheep from that YouTube.
I would want mine to scream.
I'd run away from that.
They scream like that seal from that YouTube video.
Yes.
It screams like a man. That'd be amazing.
My Patronus is a seal that screams like a
It wouldn't
man.
be a case that if a Dementor, because do Dementors get like sent to you? I can't remember how it works.
In the mail, I
Maybe
think.
they just like show. They just like show up. Don't they like?
They're kind of like ring rates.
Can't you like direct? Yeah, but can't you direct them at people or some shit?
Isn't in the books the fucking school administrators like brought Dementors into the school as like
Something
a security force or something?
Yes, I think so. And then, so if you're out past
There weren't a
curfew,
lot of
you get
good
yourself. This is like a real high risk.
That's harsh. And then like in class, the defense against the dark. I think I'm remembering this now. The defense against the dark arts class. They're like, all right, listen. Here's the deal. There are now soul sucking demons wandering the hallways because that's new policy. So your first lesson for this year is to learn how to summon your spirit animal to chase them away in case they go rogue and try to suck your soul out of your face, sort of unfairly.
Yeah.
If they're doing it because you're out past curfew or because
Then
you
that's just
showed
life
up
you've
late to
chosen.
class, then
Yep.
that's your problem now,
Yep.
right? But most importantly, you have to be able to summon a whale with human legs right now to keep yourself from losing your soul.
There are a lot of questionable judgments made by the adults in the Harry Potter universe.
Now listen, I read, or no, I don't even remember where the fuck I heard this. It was on a podcast pretty recently, but apparently there were questions in the Harry Potter community about the fact that there's bathrooms in Hogwarts. Because they're like, why the fuck do wizards have bathrooms? Doesn't make any sense. They're using
Just teleport out your shit.
They're using modern human plumbing. Why? Like why can't they just like, and they can like manifest food from the ether. Why can't they just like manifest their waste products, boom, right out of their body, you know? Like, why do they have toilets at all? They're wizards, you know?
But I guess what if you miss, Now you just manifested your guts away.
Yeah. And apparently,
You know what I mean?
well, apparently,
worst.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling answered this question legit and said that,
She retconned it, I assume.
yeah, well, what she said was that actually, it wasn't until recently that wizards brought in modern plumbing. And it used to be that they would just relieve themselves wherever they stood and then vanish the.
I think she's just trolling people.
So then there's a bunch of people who are like, so you're telling me
That's why they always wear robes.
yeah, they just have these robes. So they were just like, wherever they are, it's time. It's time to do the business.
They're not even potty trained. That's the craziest thing about wizards. Those
They don't
old
need to
wizards,
be.
yeah. They're not potty trained at all. They're just like shitting all over. It's crazy.
But I guess if you're removing it at the same rate that it's coming out, then it's as if it never happened.
So
You know what I mean?
I can see Sam trying to
I'm
picture.
just trying to parse this.
Is there like a beam of light coming out of the wand?
Yeah,
and you're
because
like,
they got to flick their wrist.
Because it's got to be continuous for this to.
But do you have
for
to
this
point
work.
at it? Because I feel like this is very.
Well,
you have to point
this
at
is what I'm
stuff.
talking about, the aiming problem. Because now if you're a little bit off, because like also imagine trying to teleport all the shit out of your guts because they wrap around.
Yeah,
and it's
no,
like a
it'd be really
crazy maze.
complicated.
So
Yeah.
you have to somehow cast a perfect thing that fits just inside of your wacky guts.
and we also know that gut
To
flora
teleport
is
that
very
out.
important.
Yeah,
So
you
you,
don't wanna
got to
get
make
that
sure
out
you
of it.
don't vanish the bacteria,
Yeah.
and also you got to make sure.
Although
that-
how important is it if you never have to poop?
But you also have to make sure that you
Ooh,
don't vanish it until it's done being digested by your body fully.
Well, here's another
'Cause
question:
otherwise
is
you'd
why
starve.
not just move nutrients right into your bloodstream? Why go through this whole eating
Right. Why do
process?
wizards eat?
In fact, what I would do is I would just eat as much as I want, teleport the food out of my stomach, and then just put nutrients right in where they're like the proper nutrients in the correct balance. Just put them right in my bloodstream.
Mm.
You
So
know,
you could, as a wizard, you could just always have pudding in your mouth.
oh yeah. I wouldn't have gone with pudding.
yeah.
Where's that
That's
wizard
old,
in the
that's
Harry
old
Potter
Jerry
universe?
Puddingmouth. He's just always got pudding. You don't talk to him because he'll
It's
try to talk.
disgusting.
And pudding is just flowing out of his mouth like a
No,
river.
that's a good point. Where are these?
It's like
where
those
are
Monty Python scenes where
Yeah,
people
well,
vomit
it's-
for like a minute.
It's weird that they can do fucking anything.
And they're
Anything.
not.
And then they just don't
And they just go to school.
and complain about
They
it.
go to the bathroom and the normal toilet. Apparently, except
Get
other
their
than a while ago.
faces demon sucked.
They don't
just
always
like normal.
have. They don't always have their mouth full of pudding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's
Yeah,
weird.
nothing about this universe makes any sense.
It's weird. Yeah, magic is infinite and can do anything.
I
and
wonder-
yet they just don't.
If the inventor of the Dyson vacuum were to see a Dementor,
If you just suck it up
And he would
and
sue them for
no, he'd be like, "We need to make
trademark infringement.
we need to make a soul sucking demon that does not actually use the sucking power in order to do its job." You know, because that's his whole thing with those Dyson vacuums. They're not using suction.
I mean, they are using suction.
But they're not. What are they not doing? They don't
I
have
mean,
like a thing.
I assume they're using, cyclone.
no. They use
technology.
magic.
That's it.
Or magic.
Yeah.
Maybe
The thing
he's a
about
wizard.
Dysons is there's a wand in there, and it's just
rotating real
just
fast.
spinning around, sucking up the dirt. Yeah. So you know what? I think the only solution here
It actually
is
reminds me. I heard a story that may not be true about somebody with their roommate or something who just didn't know that you had to empty a vacuum. They
No.
just thought you just
Where
sucked
does
it up and it's just gone
it's
now.
just gone now.
So
I like that.
yeah, it's just gone now. So
You
maybe
know-
maybe that's how Dyson vacuums are supposed to be. Maybe actually that is how they work, but it also just imports in dust and stuff in there so
make it
that you
seem
don't
like
know that
it's-
it's actually using
I
magic.
think there's a movie featuring Jack Black
Probably.
called Envy. I think I'm remembering this right. He invents a product that you spray it on dog poop, and then
Oh,
and
yes.
it goes away. It's just gone. It just vanishes.
But this is a
Maybe
movie?
What was the
Yeah.
plot? What happened?
It was basically like this
What if
guy.
you sprayed on things that aren't poop?
No, I think nothing happens.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But-
I
but
don't think it goes dark.
I remember being very dissatisfied with this movie because basically the movie follows a person who he's just like working his normal day job and stuff. And then he's got this kind of like deadbeat neighbor who never does anything. And then at some point, this neighbor invents this magical spray that like makes dog poop go away, and he becomes a billionaire. And the guy who works his 9 to 5, he's just enraged by this because he's like, there has to be something wrong with this because where is it going?
So that's the right question.
Where is it going? And I don't recall the movie ever even answering that question. Like it was like this guy he's
just
enraged by this, and so then he goes on this wild adventure trying to prove that there's actually something horrible going on here.
But where is it going?
And I don't think they ever found out.
There are a lot of movies with just weird, remember Flubber?
I like
Flubber.
Flubber.
But what was even the plot? It was just, he invented a thing that bounced
He invented
forever.
the thing, and then
But how
and then,
Probably
like,
some
the
evil
government tried
person
to take it.
Yeah,
I think
it's always about
Was
that.
it?
It's like an ET situation.
Maybe I'm just making that up because it feels like it fits
Yeah, I'm
perfect.
just trying to imagine, why would we give a shit about a thing that bounces a lot? And how did they make us care?
Flubber did not obey the rules of inertia. It wouldn't.
It just
stop.
kept bouncing.
Yeah.
Also,
would
it was
just keep
alive.
bouncing. And it was sentient.
And it had a soul.
So, yeah, I think it was the case that
So it was
everyone.
an ET situation.
Yeah, everyone was like, "We need to use this because this will literally give us infinite energy."
Right.
And the guy was
Yeah.
like, "No, it's
No,
got
it's
a
got a
perfect
soul."
And,
And they were like, "Can you
"Shut
make
up."
one without a soul?" He's like, "No." And it was that.
Yeah.
And there was Flubber 2, which I don't even want to talk about it. Not even-
There was a
Yeah,
second
they,
thing
just,
was
they
like,
totally
everyone
ruined the Flubber universe, I feel like.
just really flew off the
Yeah.
rails. With infinitely increasing acceleration.
Now, my favorite movie that nobody has seen is a movie called Noise.
I have not seen this.
I have not
It's a
heard of
movie about a man who lives in, I believe, New York City.
Mhm.
He has moved there like a few years ago, and he just can't sleep.
Mhm.
There's so much fucking noise all the time, and it's always these car alarms. And it's like a revenge movie where this guy basically goes on a crusade to like destroy car alarms. Like that's his.
Is it a movie or is it like real life?
It's a movie.
Document. Okay.
It's a movie. Yeah. So first he becomes like a vigilante where he figures out where to like what wires to snip in cars to make the car alarm stop working. So anytime a car alarm goes, he just roams around the streets at night. When a car alarm goes off, he pops the hood, he snips the thing, and then he slaps a sticker on their windshield. It's like, your car alarm was going off and I snipped it. Eventually he tries to like get legislation passed to ban car alarms, because it turns out that there's actually no evidence that, according to this, right, there's no evidence that car alarms actually stop robberies. And so they really
I've heard that.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So really, they just make a fuckload of noise randomly for no reason and keep people awake at night. And they said, well, there's no laws about how much noise your car can make. So he buys for $1,000, buys a pickup and fills it with as many speakers and noise amplifiers as possible, and then just starts driving around town at all hours of the day. And then he ends up just parking it in front of the mayor's house and just playing sirens and like as much sound as he can possibly make, as long as possible, until finally they pass a law. And I was like, yes, this movie is great.
That's how you do it.
Great movie. All right. Anyway, what were we talking about? Harry Potter.
I think we answered it.
Yep. Whale with human legs. All right. Next
whale
question.
Human legs, mute button, and bear holding a shark.
I love how you just get a mute button. You back shut up.
That's my Patronus.
Patronus is a mute button. Get out of here, man.
That's the thing. It doesn't really do anything, but it makes me feel better and makes my life improve. Yep. You know.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question comes from Beekie Boppaboop.
Killing it.
Yeah. The next Prime podcast is 193, which is the current one.
Oh, shit.
But it is also a happy numbered podcast, a lucky numbered podcast, and a centered 32 gonal numbered podcast.
I bet you made all those up.
I don't know.
But also, math is weird, so those all could be real.
On a related note, do you have any favorite numbers?
You're always doing 8-bit stuff.
They're convenient, doing base 2 stuff.
Maybe we should go further back up the chain of command.
0 is the best number, I think.
Well, 0 is not a number, though. It's nothing. You know what I mean?
No, that's the whole point.
It's just
I don't know what you mean, because you're just wrong.
I learned that when this concept of 0 was being invented, this is all completely made up, I'm sure, is that it was hard to come up with like what that was supposed to be like. And so the idea was you draw a circle, because you're sort of like drawing a circle. You're circling the nothing that's in there. Mm-hmm. You're like, it's this hole. It's the circle isn't it's the nothing in there. That's what the number is.
So when you're drawing a 0, what you're actually doing is just you're circling. You're outlining you're
nothing, pointing out.
You're like, look at
what's not.
Look in there. Like when you draw a 1, the 1 is pointing at just anything, but it can only point at one thing
because it's only got 1 point.
Yeah. If you got a 2,
it's pointing in 2 directions. Kind of 3 points in 3 directions.
Points,
4,
and you just kind of pretend one of them isn't there.
You ignore 1
because there's a whole like the 2. Like 1 is the loneliest number, but except for 2 sometimes or whatever the fuck that song is.
No, 1 has 2 points and 2 has 3 points. So it's trash.
But then 3 also has 3 points.
It does, but it also has 2 humps on the back, so that cancels out 1.
Yeah, because you got to add the humps. If you draw 2 has a 1 hump. Also.
Well, no, if you draw 2 in cursive, then it's actually just got 2.
If you draw anything in cursive, then why would you do this?
Then what have you done?
True.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had to learn cursive in 3rd grade, and
cursive makes it curse. That's its whole thing. Maybe that's why we curse so much.
Because of the cursive.
The weird thing is, I actually enjoyed writing in cursive. I didn't like getting taught it because it was very frustrating. Like the teachers weren't. We had a very bad teacher. Remember her?
They weren't particularly passionate about cursive.
Yeah,
they're
just kind of mean about it.
They were very into cursive enforcement, in sort of like a totalitarian dictator sense.
It's kind of like language prescriptivists, where it's just like,
this is how you're supposed to.
This is just how things are supposed to be, because that's how it's always been.
Yeah. But it's a fun thing to write in once you know how to do it. And as a kid in 3rd grade, I think when we learned it, 2nd or 3rd grade, it made me feel so adult.
You do feel very fancy.
Yes, I was like, oh, I'm an adult now, because you see the script.
I still write thank you cards and stuff in cursive because I feel like that adds that grown up adult touch. I
write them in a hideous caps font.
Yeah, that's my fallback.
Yeah,
because it's
a good one.
That's the only legible way I can.
And then
write.
if you do it with one of those shitty pens that it stamps part of the text, and then you stamp it again with the side of your hand, really get that sort of like.
It's very authentic when you've smeared the ink incomprehensibly.
Wow, this person's hand was sweaty when they're writing this, and they have terrible handwriting.
That is the main way you can tell. When you get those letters that are like sort of like fake real handwriting that you get from companies, you can always tell they're fake because there's not hand smears on it.
Yep.
So that's the thing to look out for.
And also, all the letters are the same size. There's no lines on the paper, and like somehow they've perfectly written like the O that is 6 inches away from the other O, still exactly on the same line.
I do know some people who have such good handwriting that they could do that.
Yeah.
Where you look at it and you're like, did you type this?
But those people are high achievers. You know, they're not going to be working at a company where their whole job is writing on an envelope. You know what I mean?
Who knows?
So if you have really good handwriting, you're probably an astronaut or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Right.
I think
Well,
it's
not a
required.
doctor though, because
No, it's been established.
now speaking of language purists, we talked a while back off mic about the problem of there not being a word that means the opposite of complimentary. And I'm wondering if you guys have had any more time to think about this. Here's the problem. We have a word that's complimentary. Complimentary means you take this thing, you take this other thing, bring them together.
They're good.
That's better. Like that's way better than if you had each of them individually, right? Now, if you brush your teeth and then drink some orange juice, that's way worse, right? Like,
Yeah, each one of those things by themselves, fine.
it's
Together,
fine. It's not great, I guess. Like brushing your teeth is fine and having orange juice is also fine. When you put them together, everything is bad about
it's
it.
real bad.
What is that? Have we figured that out yet?
No, do you have one, or are you
No.
just asking it? Because I have no idea.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You didn't give us any heads up on this.
This
question.
question's been all right. Yeah, I didn't have time to think about this beforehand. We came up with a bunch of them weeks ago, but none of them
None
really
of them
worked.
stuck. I just want to put this
I
out there.
think
in the
much more
universe.
importantly, whelmed is a word.
Whelmed is a word.
I found this. I was reading Moby Dick, and they used the word whelm.
Yeah.
It's
So-
a word.
It
So
means
that's
to
really
fill.
important, and I think
You can
everybody
whelm.
should start using it in your everyday life.
Whelm my coffee mug,
Yep.
barista.
And then they're like, "Is this
You're
enough?"
gonna
You're
go
like, no,
in.
no, I'm careful. I'm getting overwhelmed.
I'm
There you go.
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Or if somebody only partially fills up your coffee, be like, I'm very underwhelmed. Or my coffee is very underwhelmed.
Yeah. Is
Could
that how you use it?
Could you
Is that how you-
properly whelm?
I have no idea if that's
Could
actually. how
you
use it.
properly whelm? I asked for 10 ounces.
I only saw it in one sentence, so I don't quite have enough to parse.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure we can look it up later.
Well, I want to put it out there for our listeners. Come up with a word that is the opposite of complimentary.
Well, it's that toothpaste orange juice. Like that's the scenario we're talking about.
Right. You take two things that are fine by themselves, then you combine them, and now it is so much worse
It's greater than the sum of its parts, but
in a bad way.
in a bad way.
It's far less.
It's
It's
more.
not less than the sum. It's like
it is far
it
less
takes you the
than the sum
opposite
of its
direction.
parts. Than the subtraction of its parts. I don't know.
But
It's
it
the
is,
opposite
it
of
is
that.
more, but just
if you were
in a
measuring the
negative
goodness of something and you're like toothpaste 0, like it's fine. It's not good or bad. It's neutral.
Right.
Right. And I've got
way. It should
orange.
probably be non-zero because 0 is too magic of a number. You know.
Well, no, because I feel like there's positive and there's negative experiences, right?
Yeah, I think
So-
toothpaste like is a little bit above.
All right. So
0.
toothpaste is a 0.1.
Yeah, that'll work.
And orange juice, you're like, no, that's like a 0.3. It's
do
fine.
just
It's
give it
pretty
a 1.
good. You know,
I'll
it's
give
not.
it, give it a 1.5.
If a 1
minimum.
is like the best, then like a 1
Oh,
is
that's
like,
on a 0 to 1
yeah.
scale.
So a 1 is like that's
You
chocolate.
didn't give us the fucking scale.
Well, I mean, it should be intuitive. It's a 1.
I mean, you got toothpaste.
This is a percentage of goodness
so,
scale.
So is a scale -1 to 1 then?
yeah.
Okay.
This is badness to goodness.
Gotcha. Okay. And it's a normalized -1 to 1 scale for mathematical
Right.
convenience.
Most bad. It's like -1 is murder and 1 is chocolate. Like those are the two ends of the
Those are your-
spectrum.
Wait, what kind of chocolate?
Milk chocolate. Okay.
Just like
This is-
any,
it's
just
a
any old
subjective
milk
scale.
chocolate? Like every milk chocolate all gets a 1?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So we don't need to split hairs. Point being, toothpaste is a 0.1.
I think on this scale, it's now more of a 0.05, I think, probably.
Toothpaste is a 0.05.
Yeah.
Orange juice is like a 0.3, maybe a 0.2,
0.2, I'd say.
depending.
Yeah.
Put them together and you get murdered.
Put them together, you get -1. It's the
You
same
get
as
literally
it's the
negative
same
1.
as if you've killed someone.
Feels like it, anyways.
So things that are complementary, you add up that 0.1 and that 0.2 or whatever, and you get like a 0.6. Like that's you got your synergy going on. What is the word for when things produce a far worse, not even just an added together combo, like a far worse result than
Wasn't
you ever
energy a thing?
Energy was a thing. It's the opposite of synergy. Which
Yeah,
I thought
that's
was the funniest word.
That's a dumb word. Like
But it might
energy.
Be, it might just be the only word available, though. It was energistic.
Energy.
Oh, we could do better. As
We didn't
as
last time.
Mankind could do better than energy. I
Yeah.
feel like.
So you mean everybody else can do better?
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah.
But I mean, collectively as a species, we can do it. All right. Next question comes from Tim Conceivable. How do you all decide on podcast titles, and what will be used in the cold opening at the beginning of each podcast?
Here's the trick. We don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we just walk out of this room and then we're done. And then it's between Patbard and Jenny to figure out that.
Yep.
Yeah. So Patrick decides on the cold open.
Yeah.
Jen picks a title.
And Jenny picks a title.
Yep. I
And
know
basically she just, as she says, she writes notes on the cast and like looks for shit that went wrong and whatever. And so she's just taking notes as she goes, just looking out for some phrase that could end up being the title. And then she just has a list of the phrases at the end and then picks the
it just has to be
top
weird.
It's basically it's just that detection that just constantly is going for if there'd be a good band name when you have a conversation. It's the same sort of thing. So you just listen to the podcast and pick one of the band names that comes out of it, and that's it.
And we know that Patbard's approach is he looks at the waveform for bursts of sound, which is generally us laughing at something.
Yeah, he goes a little bit before that.
And he's like, was this like 10 seconds long? All right, that's fine. And then he puts that at the beginning of the podcast.
He's got a very methodical approach.
Yeah,
to all
so we
this stuff.
do start recording before we actually start the cast. So then he clips out that earlier part. And sometimes there's, sometimes there's some waveforms in there that are real spiky. So he might grab those. So
Other times there's secrets that we're talking about that can never see the light of day.
And we're recording those as well and just sending those right over to Fatbard.
And then hoping for the best.
And we're like, it's fine. He's probably not going to hear it. No big deal. Next question comes from Retro Banana Man NL. If you just work normal hours, but you eat a lot of crunchy food during your work, are you crunching?
Also, Richard Banana Man is now a moderator. So
congratulations.
Welcome to the team. Retro.
Still not going to get
licensed.
Not licensed.
That's a separate. That's not part
separate
of
issue
our stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We don't do those.
Nope.
I think if you're eating crunchy foods, you are crunching.
No. Yes. Maybe.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
food is crunching. Are you crunching?
Yeah, I don't think you are.
Well, the food doesn't crunch. You crunch it.
Is crunch a verb or a
Apparently, it's a verb.
or a
A crunch is a thing that you do.
You can crunch. It's an onomatopoeia. So it is the sound of crushing something with your jaws.
because you can make a crunching sound.
You can crunch something.
So
You
when
crunch
you're
something, are you making a crunching sound? Or?
Yes. Because crunch is an onomatopoeia. So that's like by definition. If you took a can, like empty can, and you compress it,
Yeah.
would you say you have crunched it? Because it makes that sound?
I would say maybe the
smashed
rest
it,
of the
probably.
universe just got wider, and like maybe the can is the same size and we don't know.
I don't even
You never know.
what that means. I don't even know.
You thought you were crunching the can, but really your hands
You were
stayed
growing the universe.
Your hands stayed the same width apart, and then
Yeah, the universe grew around.
the universe grew around the can.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I mean, I don't. You're right.
I think the only problem with this theory,
There's not.
is
There's
just
only
that,
one.
It's just that they can change its shape at the same time, or maybe it
No,
doesn't.
it
Maybe
doesn't.
the universe.
The
changes
universe
shape.
shape around it.
Right? Because if you were in a certain kind of like Euclidean geometry space, right? But
Which
then the
we're
can,
not, but if we
the
were-
can turns into a new kind of space entirely.
The only time I've heard Euclidean geometry as a phrase is when people are spouting weird ass theories. That is the only because I think who knows what that means? What does that mean?
Math people.
What does Euclidean geometry
It's just whole having like two axes and doing things on that kind of a
Euclidean
Yeah,
geometry
related.
is regular human math.
Exactly. It's the math that you learned.
So it's one of those
So
like
it's-
in non-Euclidean space,
Yeah, yeah.
they're like, I'm talking about unicorns. I'm talking about whales with human legs.
Yeah, non-Euclidean. That'd be like saying instead of saying we have like a 2D plane where things are at right angles, you say like now I have I'm
tesseract.
living on a donut that I've twisted 3 times, right? And now I want to do some math on the surface of this
Donut.
shape, right? And then I have to invent entirely new kinds of math because
you braided a donut.
yeah, because Euclidean stuff doesn't work there. So this is what I'm saying: is when you twisted that, when you try to crush that can, what actually happened is you created
You braided a donut.
Yeah.
but now you turn the universe into a donut that now, relatively speaking, makes it so that the Euclidean space that the can was in looks deformed now.
Exactly.
So
That's
you-
what I was saying.
And that's
So
the
again, you change
sound.
the universe.
Yeah.
That's the sound of.
Oh, yeah, and
crunch.
there has to be a
That's what the
sound that
sound
goes
is,
along with
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't just
bring it back.
silently
Bring it
change
back.
the universe into a different geometric.
no,
space.
it makes a crunching noise.
It makes a crunching noise.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from.
Quickly.
The next question comes from MySecretWeapon. Who, or is it what, is your favorite AAA game developer and why?
No shit.
Do you have one?
Do I have?
I think my favorite AAA games that are still coming out are still the Fallout games.
What about 76 though?
So you're saying that one.
So you're
So
saying
this is-
Bethesda is your favorite developer?
I think so.
Okay.
As a consequence, but the thing is, I don't actually like any AAA developers.
Yeah.
As a developer,
I think it's. I actually
like
think
their
it's
products sometimes.
Yeah, it's weird to be a fan of a publicly traded AAA game
yeah.
studio.
I don't think it's possible.
It's hard.
because who is it? It's like kind of like to me.
Well,
This
it's a bunch
is
of shareholders.
To me, this is the same paradox of being a fan of a sports team.
Yeah.
where you're like, I love the Ravens. I don't know. That's a team, right?
And you've done that for your whole life. But
Right,
during
because
your whole life, it's now
they trade
completely
out
new
all the
people,
players.
Yeah.
new coach.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's
New
super
owner
weird.
even.
I think because each one has like its own ethos and stuff that you kind of it's a team, so you get
You
kinda,
love its
but-
spirit.
Yeah, you get into the spirit.
The spirit lives on.
But I guess
But
that's the question.
sometimes they don't.
Sometimes
Because
they
like
don't.
if the coach changes and then like half the team changes in the same year, it's just
This
a completely different
No,
thing.
this is just that robot question. If I swap your brain out,
It's a
with
ship
robot
of, it's a
parts.
ship
one
of
piece
Theseus,
at a time,
right?
Yeah. You got if you change that slowly enough, then it's the same thing.
it is
the
the
whole
same
time.
thing. That's what I'm saying.
But most importantly, it has the same banner the whole time. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's what we really rally behind is symbols.
Yeah.
You know? The rest doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
because what I would say is like, probably 6 years ago it would have been like Blizzard hands down. But now literally none of the people who are running that company are doing that anymore.
Also, they're just doing some weird shit.
They're doing weird shit now. It was like, well,
I like the Warframe team.
yeah.
Digital Extremes, I believe it's called. They're just always doing cool shit over there. And they started off with this game that was like a free to play game that had a really low user base, and they've just been working on it,
just keep
adding
going.
cool shit, and now it's a monster.
Yeah.
And they just seem like they're having a good time. I like them.
Space Ninja. I mean, you make a game about Space Ninjas, I feel like
Eventually, you're gonna have a real good time.
there's nowhere to go but
Yeah.
up into space as a ninja.
Do you have a favorite AAA studio?
I just don't think I do. Again, I actually don't like companies, and the bigger company gets, the less I can like it.
Yeah, I like
Right.
small companies because they're actually groups of people.
Yeah, they're people.
It's like Supergiant, Behemoth.
Yeah, they're just people.
You like
Basically
people.
small studios.
Yeah, I
people.
like people. I don't like things as much, I guess.
Company.
I like people and experiences, and you can't experience a company, and a company isn't a person. I mean, it is by law, but it's not one you can talk to. I mean, you can talk using money, I guess, but like you can't talk back to
very
it.
confusing
Actually, you do
nowadays.
because then you pay it for things, and I guess
That's how you
communication
talk
now.
because they talk to, for example, our political process
Using money.
That's how companies talk and listen with
Right.
money.
Yeah.
That's how
So that's how that works.
they don't
but
have a
like-
mouth. They just have a big money hole that just shoots dollar bills out of it.
Yeah, it's like those machines get in the like the fans blowing money
Yeah.
everywhere.
So if you're like a senator and you're like, I got to go talk to Google today, you go over to Google's money hole, and
Yeah,
then
they just spits
there's just
money
a
at you.
there's just a big hole inside the building,
Yeah.
and you just kind of open your mouth and the money just shoots in there.
yeah,
That's how
Yeah,
you
I
do it.
just haven't really played, I think, actually a lot of AAA games recently.
there is that too.
Which is an interesting point, generally.
Yeah,
Well, so I was actually having a conversation with Sampy this weekend about what even is a AAA studio, because this idea of being indie is comes from this idea of you'd have like one or two people making a game like in the basement, and then they put it out and like self-publish it and whatever. But of course, everything exists on a spectrum.
Yeah.
So you got teams like
well, that's why you get that like AAA and all that bullshit.
yeah,
Like
so you get
the
teams like
filler space.
Hello Games. They make
Yeah.
No Man's Sky, and they had 12 people on their
Yeah.
team at that time, and they're selling the game for $60, and visually it looks like a AAA game,
title.
and it's being like marched across the stage at E3 by Sony for like 3 years, and I was like, actually, I think to me the distinction between a AAA game and an indie game in a lot of cases is like partially team size and partially is it meant to sell hardware, because so often AAA games, they try to push the boundaries of graphics, and then companies like Microsoft or Sony or whatever, like they'll be bringing those games up as like, look at how great this looks
Right,
on
right,
the
right.
PlayStation,
Mhm.
or this is an exclusive to our console. And so a lot of times those games are just kind of like collaborations between a hardware manufacturer and a game studio as like pushing the limits of what the hardware is capable of.
Interesting.
Whereas indies, we don't have the resources to develop a game engine generally.
Mhm.
We're making the games. And so we're not pushing the hardware unless like Unity or Game Maker is pushing the hardware. So that's kind of where
Yeah,
I
no,
feel-
that's an interesting distinction. Yeah, that's an interesting distinction.
yeah.
But I think a lot of the really high end titles aren't really doing that so much anymore. I think that used to be like the biggest selling point every year is like just how much better the graphics have gotten and whatever. But I feel like
It's because they've gotten good enough.
they've gotten good
That's
enough
the
that I think like there is still, of course, that push and that is still happening. But I feel like that's less of a huge selling point and not necessarily and especially because of the cross-platform nature of things now, where most games seem to be coming out on more than just a single console.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that, and maybe just AAA doesn't mean anything.
I don't know what it means.
To me, it just means publicly traded company. That's basically what it.
Well, it means 3D, and it means a large budget.
What about Clash of Clans?
It's not a AAA game.
Triple M?
This is just a triple mobile. It's just a mobile game. Like that's not a AAA game. No one in the right mind would say that. I think it's about budget and it's about scale of the game. I think for a large part. Which is why I think
What do you mean by scale, though?
Well, that's
Because
what I
like,
mean,
Clash
because-
of Clans has like a 500-person staff and makes billions of dollars, right? So like,
of the game, not of the institution behind the game. The game is not a huge
I think if you can put
entity.
one game inside of if you can conceive of your game also being inside of another game, it's not AAA.
Yeah, AAA games are games where there's more games in them.
Yeah,
That's what we've talked about before, right?
it's like
There's,
games within games.
Was there some game you were playing, or someone?
My wife was talking about playing The Witcher 3 with that
Yeah,
game,
with
with that
Gwent.
game Gwent inside
Yeah,
of it.
people
And she was like,
spent-
"I've been having a blast playing Gwent in here."
and people have spent like 400 hours playing Gwent.
Yeah.
Inside.
It's the
Of The
game within
Witcher.
the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think once your game has other games in it, then you're approaching AAA space.
there's that Final Fantasy 8.
Blitzball.
Well, there's
Oh, no.
Blitzball and Final Fantasy 10. And Final Fantasy 8, there's that card game.
Oh yeah, sounds fun too.
Yeah. Which I've always been like, I want that. That's a mobile game. Like I want that. That's a great card game,
Mhm.
and nobody makes it. But
Yep.
yeah. So if your game has other games in it, now it's a AAA game.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we?
Get some games inside.
So we
of
just
our
got
game.
to let's make a card game inside of Levelhead.
Okay.
And then we have the asynchronous play. We could do that with our web stuff.
I mean, that's a different thing entirely because we probably want it to be a bit more synchronous for a
No, you
card
can take
game.
turns. Who cares?
Nope.
You
We'll just put a 24-hour cooldown on each move, and
Uh-huh.
you got a month
Yep,
to finish your game, and
Mm-hmm.
people
Yeah.
love that shit.
Why
Yeah,
not?
that'll bust us.
People
into that.
love waiting for it.
And then we can raise the price to $60. It's gonna
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah, because there's another game in there. So now
That's
it's
awesome.
AAA
There's
title.
a card game in there
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So,
What?
Or we could just put Roid Rage in it.
You know, what we should do is actually make the card game in full 3D.
oh,
Inside
yeah.
of Levelhead is 2D just to fuck.
That would
with
be
people, 'cause that's like,
easy.
usually they do the opposite.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of like a Celeste situation. You know, it's like where the map is 3D, and then you get in the game and it's 2D.
pixel art.
It's pixel
It's not
art,
even
yeah.
2D.
The
it's just
game is pixel
right?
art, but the portraits are hand drawn.
Yeah, but then the map is 3D low poly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we could do something like that where the card
like
game
that.
is super realistic, like HD, 3D,
Mhm.
every
Just
D
like
you can have, we just put it all in there. And then you just play that from within
Mm-hmm.
the cute cartoon 2D space.
Okay, I like it. We'll do it. All right, we got time for one more question, which comes from Just Let Me Read, who says, do you guys listen to music or podcasts while you work? I found that I at least need to have a YouTube video or a podcast, usually yours, so thanks, playing while I write or do homework. Thanks.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I cannot listen to words while I write anything.
Nope.
At all.
Yeah, I found that I make mistakes at like a 5x rate, and I move through the work at like a 10%
Yeah.
speed. If I'm
So-
listening to literally anything
What I can do,
or anything with words.
yeah, songs I know a lot or that I have on repeat, I can do art to. Cannot write to still. But music that is just sort of like a, basically random beeps and boops. So,
Gives you some
I
energy. cue
love,
music,
dude. I
you know.
love beat boop.
Yeah,
that's
so
my
like-
favorite style of music.
mhm.
Beepy Boppa Boop.
Yep.
Beekie Boppaboop.
So that stuff, and
My
then I
favorite
just do
DJ.
some white noise sometimes too, just to have that in there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
sometimes I'll work for like 4 hours and then realize I haven't been listening to anything at all, which is the
Yeah.
weirdest part.
Yeah, I treat music as a mechanism of drowning out the rest of the noise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have noise canceling headphones, but like they cancel ambient sound, but not
Everything.
like voices and
Not
stuff.
random sound.
Yeah. So
But also you get the energy from it, you know? You get get a good
Nice.
beat going, and it helps you get in the coding mind zone.
yeah, mine is I've pulled several ambient tracks from the EVE Online soundtrack, which are just like super chill, kind of like
Actually, some of the build music for Levelhead is really good for this too.
yes.
The stuff that's in the YouTube videos of the Bob
That's
Ross
true,
style
yeah.
things, they're really good for just like.
I'm still listening to now Sarah Bareilles Radio
There you go.
because I've heard all of those songs 100 million times,
Mhm.
and so they're just like
They're just noise.
calm noise that just keeps
I love
keeps
that.
me going.
I love that that's your programming food.
Yeah, man.
It's awesome.
But
Most
I-
programmers are like on some hardcore EDM.
I mean, every once in a while, if I hit a particularly hard problem I need to like super concentrate on, then I'll flip over to Danny Baranowski Radio.
I thought you were going to say like Nora Jones or something.
No, it's too. I think it's
You
too
amp it up.
Danny
Amp it
Baranowski
down.
does Crypt of the Necrodancer and Super Meat Boy.
Yeah,
Or did Super Meat Boy.
it is all on Google Play, and so that radio station also brings in lots of other sort of similar kinds of stuff, so like FTL stuff gets in there, and it's a good
FTL is
good
great.
station. Yeah,
Yeah, I love video game soundtracks because they're meant to not draw attention to themselves.
Yeah.
Like they're meant to convey a mood, but in a way that puts them behind everything else, which is really great. It's
good for work on
getting
stuff.
work done.
yep.
Now, have you guys played Super Meat Boy recently?
No.
Yes.
Because the music is completely different. Because
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Danny Baranowski made the music for Super Meat Boy originally, after like 5 or 8 years or whatever, there was some kind of dispute. And then the Team Meat just got a new composer and made a whole new soundtrack.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
I think it had to do with, originally anyway, it had to do with their licensing agreement once they ported to some other platform.
yeah.
And then
Somehow that retroactively hit the whole game.
yeah,
somewhere.
Yeah. Or they just decided at that time to like do something else.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened, but
Yeah. So now, if you play Super Meat Boy and if you played it a while back and you play it now, it feels
might not.
a little different.
Is it?
It's got a little different vibe to it.
It would have to, because like the soundtrack was so integral of
the music is a
experience.
huge part of all this stuff. I was actually noticing it too, playing Levelhead over the weekend, and we did get quite a few comments from people just really enjoying the overall soundtrack and the vibe and stuff. But there's a few levels where it's very funny, where because the music is a little more upbeat, but you might be dying a lot. And there's this really interesting thing that happens where at some point when you died like 100 times, a level that's like really bopping, you start to feel like the music is kind of making fun of you. You know, where you're like, stop it with your incessant happiness. You know, so it makes a huge difference on the overall, impact of the level.
Yeah. In earlier builds of the game, we had it so that when you died, the music would stop
Oh, it's terrible.
and it would start over
You
again.
just hear the first 8 seconds,
Yeah.
just
Which was a
constantly.
really bad idea.
Yeah.
I think it worked when we had placeholder music because it was just bad
Yeah,
and we weren't really listening to it anyway. But as soon as we actually had good music and you kind of wanted to hear the rest of the song, then yeah, that was a really bad experience. So, all right, well, that's all the time we have for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the question blitz as I just started calling it today.
Just this moment.
Yep. So we'd like to thank our producer Patbard for making us sound good. Thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. If you'd like to get more involved in the Butterscotch community, go to podcast.bscotch.net. And importantly, we've got, like I said, big announcement coming on Thursday. Get in there, get into the Discord, and you'll see. People will be talking about it.
Keep all your balls peeled.
That's right. And also over at podcast.bscotch.net, we've got merch, we've got links to the Discord, way for you to donate, and we have links to the podcast archives and all that stuff. And also you can ask questions and vote for questions. So get on over there and help make this podcast even more amazing going forward. Thank you very much. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.